Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories.
Two little cousins happily traded Christmas toys, and then the adults found out one of them is worth hundreds of dollars. Now there are late-night demands, accusations of manipulation, and a grown man calling a 12-year-old a shocking name. Did this simple swap turn into a scam? Or are the parents the ones out of line? Am I the asshole for not making my daughter successfully back a gifted Labubu with her younger cousin after her uncle found out the one my daughter gained in the swap is rare with a high resale value? This all happened over Christmas, and it's turning into a whole family drama. My daughter Sophia, who's 12, and her cousin Martina, who's 6, she's the daughter of my sister Maria and her husband Jose, were each given blind box Labubus as part of their Christmas gifts from my other sister, Sarah. They each opened their boxes. Martina got a brown one, and Sophia got a pink one. Martina immediately wanted the pink one, and Sophia immediately offered a trade, because she already has the pink one and was hoping for the brown one. They traded, both girls were happy, and that was that. Or so I thought. Later, Martina's parents found out, from talking to someone, that the brown Labubu is apparently a rare, secret version that can sell for more than $250. Once they learned that, they called me and said the girls needed to switch back, and that Sophia had to return the brown one immediately. They even wanted me to drive over with it right then, even though they live an hour away and it was already 8 at night. I asked if Martina actually wanted the brown one back. They said that wasn't the point. After I pushed back a bit, Jose admitted someone was willing to pay him $225 for the brown one and give Martina the pink one she wants. I told them I wasn't going to force Sophia to swap back. From my perspective, both kids were happy with the trade and got the Labubu they wanted. Sophia didn't pressure or manipulate Martina into switching. If she had, I would have stepped in immediately and told her, "You get what you get and you don't get upset." When I asked her, Sophia admitted she knew the brown one was rare, but when I asked how much they sell for, she said they're blind boxes so you can't buy the brown one, they just make fewer of them. She didn't know it was worth money. She's not a good liar, and she seemed to be telling the truth. Martina originally did not want the brown one and basically got upset when she saw Sophia got pink. It really feels like Maria and Jose only want the brown one back because they can sell it and pocket the money. Now they're upset with me and saying I'm being unfair and taking advantage of a 6-year-old. And Jose even called Sophia a manipulative bitch, which I think is a huge reach when Sophia didn't know it was worth a lot of money. She just knew they were rare to pull, that she already had the pink, and Martina was crying for the pink one. Sarah has said this is stupid parent drama, and she's staying out of it, and told us we can sort it out ourselves. So, am I the asshole for refusing to make my daughter give the brown Labubu back? Edit. Jose called Sophia a manipulative bitch to me on the phone while we were discussing it, not to Sophia's face. He'd be a dead man walking if he said it to her. He said it about an hour before I made the post. I hung up on him for it, and it hasn't been addressed yet. My wife and I are obviously going to address it. The top comments are very clear that most people don't think the issue is the toy at all anymore. It's the adults' behavior, especially the uncles. One of the highest rated replies says OP is not the asshole for the trade, but is massively underreacting to Jose calling a 12-year-old a manipulative bitch. That commenter points out it doesn't matter that Sophia didn't hear it. That's what this man genuinely thinks about his niece, and he's comfortable saying that to her parents. They also call out OP's sister Maria and Aunt Sarah, asking what kind of aunt or mom is okay with a grown man spitting that kind of venom about a child, and then just shrugging and saying, "You all sort it out." Several people suggest that alone would be enough reason to refuse any trade and demand apologies. Another top comment focuses on the same thing. A grown man calling a child that word over a Labubu. They say OP should absolutely stop talking to him and question why anyone would keep engaging with a man who can talk about a 12-year-old like that over a toy swap. And a lot of people are hung up on the money angle. One commenter breaks it down very simply. Jose is trying to sell his own 6-year-old's Christmas present. They acknowledge that $250 is a lot of money, especially around the holidays, but they're still stunned that his first instinct is to cash out his kid's gift and pressure another child to give it up to make that happen. Their verdict on him is pretty blunt. Forget that guy. Overall, the commenters are strongly backing OP's decision not to force Sophia to trade back, and they're far more disturbed by the uncle's language and the idea of monetizing a child's Christmas gift than by anything the 12-year-old did. What do you think here? Is it always fair game to undo a kid's trade once adults realize something is valuable? Or should a deal between two happy children stand, even if there's money on the table? And how would you handle a relative who talked about your kid the way Jose did? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Imagine finding out you've got a surprise half-sister from your dad's affair, and then she tells you she wants to meet your mom. The same mom your dad cheated on while this half-sister was conceived. Do you protect your mom from that pain, or let her decide for herself? Would I be the asshole if I deny my newfound half-sister on my father's side access to my mother? This is a bit complicated, so bear with me. Recently, a 23-year-old girl reached out to me, I'm a 25-year-old woman, on Facebook, and told me she's my half-sister. She said she was conceived by my father and another woman. She told me her mom had recently come clean about who her real father is, that she was the result of a one-night stand with some guy her mom met on a work trip. Before that, she'd always been told she was the biological child of her stepdad. She didn't find our father online because he doesn't have social media, but she found me because of our really uncommon last name. How her mom knows our surname but doesn't have any other contact info, I have no idea. She said her mom was very cagey about everything. After a bunch of messages back and forth, we set up a video call to talk, and she told me she was really excited to connect with her real family and all that. But not just with my dad's side. She also wanted to connect with my mom. As you can probably guess from our ages, my dad cheated on my mom with her mom. That's not a surprise because he had tons of affairs during the marriage, which is why my parents divorced almost 20 years ago. I'm also not surprised she exists because my dad told me himself years ago when I was grilling him about the cheating that he most likely has a bunch of affair kids out there because that's just how men are. I was honest with her and told her I'm no contact with my dad's side of the family because not only did they condone the cheating and blame my mom for it, they're also just toxic in general. There's a lot I could say about my paternal family, but to keep it short, I told her I could give her their contact info, but she should keep her expectations low because they're all pretty terrible people and she's not going to be treated like some long-lost daughter coming home. But me saying that led to her asking about my mom's side of the family. And I told her they're amazing people and that my mom is great. Then she got excited and said she can't wait to connect with my mom. And I'm honestly stumped as to why I would let her do that. She's not related to my mom, and my parents divorced a long time ago. My mom has also remarried. On top of that, the timing of her conception lines up with when my mom miscarried my younger brother, which obviously hurt my mom a lot. Knowing that, on top of that pain, my dad was cheating on her during that time is a whole other can of worms. I told her I would ask my mom if she's okay with connecting with her, but I don't think I should even bring this up to my mom. All of this just feels so weird to me, and I don't even know if this girl is a good person, or if she has some kind of ulterior motive for wanting to know my mom. She couldn't even give me a good reason for why she wanted that, just that my mom is my family, and therefore also hers. I'm leaning toward not mentioning any of this to my mom, and just giving her my dad's info. But my best friend said I'm an asshole for keeping my mom to myself, and that I shouldn't make this decision for my mom. Would I be the asshole if I don't mention anything to my mom? Top commenters overwhelmingly say the original poster is not the asshole here. One of the strongest reactions is that the half-sister's expectation is wildly unrealistic. Why would a woman want a relationship with the child her ex-husband conceived while cheating on her during their marriage, especially around the time she miscarried? From that perspective, OP has no obligation to set up what could be a very painful interaction for her mom. Another big theme is caution. Some people point out that in today's world, scams and grifters are common. They say that before OP even accepts this as her half-sister, they'd want DNA proof, especially since the girl seemed to pivot pretty quickly from wanting to connect with her biological father's side to focusing on OP's mom. However, one of the top comments adds a nuance. While OP isn't obligated to hand over access, they think the mom still deserves a heads up. The concern is that the half-sister might try to track down OP's maternal family on her own, so OP's mom should at least be prepared in case this woman goes around her and reaches out directly. What do you think? Should OP shield her mom from this completely and keep it to herself? Or give her mom the information and let her decide whether to meet the half-sister? Let me know your verdict in the comments, and if you've ever dealt with surprise family members, I'd love to hear how it went. Imagine finally trying to rebuild a relationship with the parent who abused you, only to end up in a silent car ride to the airport, knowing they have no ticket and no plan. Would you still drive away, or would you fold at the last second? Am I the asshole for leaving my mom at the airport with no ticket and no plan? This still weighs on me. So, some background. My mom was abusive when I was growing up. It got bad enough that when I was 12, I left home through the courts and moved in with my dad. That decision really blew up our family. On the court paperwork, under name of child, she wrote something along the lines of, "I have no son." I've carried that with me ever since. After that, I barely had any contact with her. I saw her briefly when I was 17, then again in my early 20s, but nothing consistent until much later. I'm almost 40 now. I spent over 20 years drinking heavily and finally got sober in 2018, and that's when I tried to reconnect with my family, including my mom. She's close to 70 now and has zero contact with 2 of her 3 kids. Reconnecting wasn't easy. When I asked her if she ever thought about the abuse, she told me I was an adult and needed to let it go already. That was a turning point for me. I realized any forgiveness was going to be one-sided. If I wanted peace, it was going to have to come from me, not from her changing. Since then, our relationship has been rocky, but it existed. We've had family reunions, and we even traveled overseas together for 3 weeks. We argue a lot, usually over small things, but we stayed in contact. Until this. Last summer, I invited her to my city to see a band she's loved since I was a kid. The plan was simple. She'd get in on Wednesday, we'd go to the concert on Thursday, she'd fly out to visit my sisters on Friday, and I'd leave early Saturday for my own trip. She agreed. When she arrived, she mentioned she'd only bought a one-way ticket and would book the Friday flight later. That made me uneasy, and I reminded her several times to make sure it was booked. I thought I was really clear, both in what I said and how I said it, that I didn't want anyone staying in my house while I was gone. Friday came. The concert was fine. Then she told me she still hadn't bought a plane ticket, and now, because prices had gone up, she was planning to stay a few extra days while I was away. I told her straight up, "I'm leaving at 5 in the morning tomorrow. You need to get on that plane." I even offered to cover the extra cost. She refused and basically invited herself to stay at my place. That's when I clearly said I wasn't comfortable with anyone staying in my home while I wasn't there. She accused me of not trusting her and said she was my mother. I told her it wasn't about trust, I just didn't want anyone in my house. The argument escalated. Finally, she said, "Fine, take me to the airport." I think she expected me to back down. I didn't. I packed the car, grabbed my daughter, and drove her to the airport in silence. When we got there, it felt like a standoff, like she was waiting for me to say, "Never mind, don't go." I didn't. I took her bag out, set it on the curb, and told her, If you can't find a ticket, let me know. I can help you pay for a hotel. Then I left. Months later, I'm still thinking about it. I don't think I stranded my mom with no options. I offered to pay for the flight and a hotel. But I did leave her at the airport knowing she hadn't booked a ticket. Am I the asshole? The top commenters focus on one big theme. This isn't just about a plane ticket. It's about a lifelong pattern. One person points out that OP basically described the classic abuse cycle. The mother was abusive, never took accountability, and is still trying to manipulate situations so that OP feels guilty and responsible for her choices. They say you can choose to forgive, but you don't have to keep letting someone back into your life if they use your boundaries against you. In their views, if she throws tantrums or tries to make you feel bad for having limits, she can do that from outside your life, not inside your home. Another commenter says abusers are experts at making their victims feel like they're the problem, and like they're responsible for whatever the abuser decides to do. To them, OP's mom is still doing exactly that, using guilt and "I'm your mother" to push past clear boundaries. And a third highly upvoted comment tells OP that they think the only mistake here is believing they truly reconnected. From this perspective, what really happened is that the old dynamic just got rebooted. The mom assumed that because OP let her back in, everything would go back to how it used to be, with her calling the shots and ignoring OP's comfort. That's why she thought she could just invite herself to stay in the house, no ticket, no plan, and expect OP to bend. What do you think about this one? Was OP justified in driving away after dropping their mom at the airport? Or should they have handled it differently given her age and their history? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Am I the asshole or not? And how you would have handled that standoff at the curb. A mom moves 6 hours away to be closer to one son and her grandkids. Then her youngest comes home from college and suddenly feels pushed aside. When New Year's Eve plans collide, is she just keeping her commitments, or is she showing clear favoritism? Am I the asshole for babysitting my grandkids during my son's visit? I have 3 sons, Michael, who's 35, Jonah, who's 30, and Logan, who's 20. After Logan moved out for college last year, I ended up moving 6 hours away, closer to where Michael and his family live. I did it partly because the cost of living is lower there, and partly because I wanted to be near my grandkids. Michael and his wife Nadia have 4 kids, who are 8, 6, 3, and 3. I watch the kids from 11:30 to 3:30 4 days a week while Nadia works, and the kids spend the night with me 1 to 2 times a month, so Michael and Nadia can have a date night. Last month, Nadia checked with me to make sure I could take the kids overnight for New Year's Eve. So, I made plans with one of my good friends to bring her grandkids over too. We planned a pizza and movie night with bottomless ice cream and lots of candy. At the beginning of this month, Logan told me he'd be staying with me for winter break instead of with his father. Then, a few days ago, he told me he wanted to have some friends over for New Year's Eve. I told him that was fine, but I already had the kids that night, so I said he and his friends could use the finished basement as long as there wasn't any drinking or loud music. He asked me why I would babysit when I knew he was visiting. I told him that Nadia had confirmed this with me long before he told me he would be here. He said I should have canceled when he told me he was going to be here, because Michael's family gets me every day, but he only sees me a few weeks a year, and even then he feels like he's not able to make plans because I have the kids. I understand why he's upset, but I'm not sure if I'm wrong for babysitting. One commenter had a lot to say about Logan's reaction and his real priorities. They pointed out the contradiction in his complaint. If this visit was really about spending time with his mom, why was he so focused on hosting a party with his friends in her house? That commenter said they would have asked him directly, if family time is so important, why are you organizing a hangout with other people instead? Another highly upvoted commenter called out how misleading his argument was. He framed it as, "You never spend time with me." But in reality, the plans being ruined were his social plans with friends, not actual mother-son time. The commenter noted that he knows she has a regular babysitting schedule, and if he wanted her to change it, he should have brought that up when he first said he was coming, not at the last minute. They also emphasized that canceling on confirmed childcare plans would be rude and irresponsible to Michael and Nadia, and wondered what it says about Logan that he doesn't seem to understand that. Another commenter summed it up simply. He says he only gets to see his mom a few weeks a year, but the thing he's upset about is that her existing commitment interferes with his party, not with him actually spending time with her. To them, that undercut his whole argument about feeling neglected. What do you think here? Is this a mom just honoring a promise to her grandkids and their parents? Or is there some favoritism at play that Logan is picking up on? Should she have tried harder to rearrange things once she knew he was visiting? Or was she right to stick to her original plans? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Who, if anyone, is the asshole in this story? A neighbor accidentally takes out a mailbox, bends over backwards to make it right, and still gets hit with texts calling her sinful and pathetic. At what point do you stop trying to be nice and just let the insurance company deal with it? Am I the asshole for telling my neighbor to go through insurance? Edit. So, after reading the replies, I get that it probably would have been less of a hassle to just let my handyman fix it and be done with it. But I'm not going to do that. That probably does make me a bit of an asshole, and I accept that. Name-calling is where I draw the line. I pay for insurance. I already made a claim, so her adding on to that doesn't change my rates. I am sorry I hit her mailbox, and I fulfilled my obligation by giving her my insurance information. She doesn't get unlimited access to me whenever she wants another apology, and she definitely doesn't get to call me names. Original post. My car slipped on black ice and I hit my neighbor's mailbox. I gave her my insurance info. She told me my insurance wanted her to pay up front and she didn't have the money. I told her I would buy the mailboxes and pay my handyman to put them in, but it would be after the first of the year because the mailbox wouldn't be in until December 29th and he had family plans. On December 29th, she called me, but I couldn't answer because my daughter was sick. I texted my handyman and asked him to arrange what day he could come and install it. He told her he had the mailbox and set up Friday, January 2nd to install it when he was back in town. On December 31st, she sent me a sarcastic text saying I didn't care. I told her my daughter ended up in the hospital and I couldn't return her call, which is why my handyman reached out to set up a day and time. She said that, out of respect, I should have called her back, that I should be ashamed of myself and be more apologetic. I had already had 2 30-minute calls with her where I was profusely apologizing. I told her to go through my insurance if I wasn't doing it fast enough. She then sent this text. And you are the homeowner that plowed over my mailbox. So completely disrespectful and sinful. You should be ashamed and embarrassed and apologetic. Call handyman? You are pathetic. I then sent this and blocked her. I'm returning the mailbox. Go through insurance. You have the info. I didn't have to buy them and pay handyman to put them in. He told you he'd be there on Friday, and I told you the same thing. That obviously isn't good enough. So go through insurance. Am I the asshole for making her go through insurance after she started calling me names? Edit to add info. Her mailbox is still usable and she's still getting mail. It just has a crack. She picked the mailbox and it wasn't going to arrive until December 29th. She knew that, but she wanted that specific mailbox. I sent the handyman over to fix her leaky sink as an I'm sorry. I've also dropped off treats and homemade bread as an I'm sorry. I have answered all her calls except the December 29th call. I use that iPhone feature where you can text back and the phone will tell the person calling why you can't answer. I said, my daughter is sick. Handyman will reach out to schedule. He reached out and scheduled for January 2nd. She texted on December 31st that I should have called her personally and that I should be ashamed. I told her my daughter ended up in the hospital with RSV and I thought it was resolved because she already had a date the handyman was coming. She texted back, okay, you're pathetic. Then kept going about how I was sinful. I told her to go through insurance. One more edit. I'm a woman with absolutely no tools. I pay the handyman to fix things. If I knew how to do it, I would have done it. But I've learned I make way more working my job, and paying someone to do it right the first time is more cost-effective. Update. Someone suggested I contact my insurance company to see if she'd made a claim. She did, weeks ago, and said she'd be turning in receipts. My handyman reached out and asked if he could buy the mailbox from me since it was a nice one, instead of me having to return it. I gave it to him for the inconvenience of his schedule being canceled. While we were talking, he said she had requested a copy of receipts even though I was paying him directly. Also, I already had a claim open because there was damage to my car, so the deductible has to be paid anyway. This will not cost me extra, and I have accident forgiveness. And one less neighbor I have to wave to, lol. The top comment came from someone who actually works in insurance, and they said there's no reason the neighbor should have to pay for the mailbox up front. According to them, that's just not how it works. She should get a quote, submit it to the insurance company, and they pay out. They also warned that if OP ever did pay her directly, it should be through something traceable like Venmo with a clear note, because otherwise the neighbor could still try to claim on insurance and pretend she never got paid. Another commenter focused on the sinful part of the neighbor's text. They joked that if accidentally hitting a mailbox is a sin, then this is between OP and God at this point, and the neighbor can just pray for OP's soul. Their verdict was that OP wasn't in the wrong. And a third highly upvoted comment pointed out that once the neighbor switched from friendly to insulting, she lost the right to expect special favors. They quoted the old saying, "For my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law." Basically saying that if the neighbor wants to be hostile, then she can stick to the formal insurance process and nothing extra. What do you think? Was OP justified in canceling the handyman and telling her neighbor to just go through insurance? Or should she have swallowed the insults and finished fixing the mailbox anyway? Let me know your verdict in the comments. And tell me how you'd handle a neighbor like this.